Opportunity to hear a little bit from one of our mayoral candidates, Ms. Elizabeth Branigan. And as a note, we want to let everybody know that Mayor Rick Hall has chosen not to participate in this event, but we will have this Q&A session with Ms. Branigan, and then at 6:30 we'll have place 2 on the Liberty Hill ISD School Board, and tomorrow evening will be place 1 on the school board. So for this evening, the format is Ms. Branigan will get an opening remarks time. Then we will ask the questions, and then she will have 2 minutes for closing remarks, and we should be probably about 30 minutes. This video will also be posted on our website at a later date, or tomorrow, and you'll be able to watch it there if you don't have time this evening. So welcome, Ms. Branigan. We're glad you could join us this evening. And I want to go ahead and give you your opportunity to make some opening remarks, if you'd like.
Good evening, Mike, and good evening, friends and neighbors. There was once a time when I knew everyone in Liberty Hill, every single person, and everything about them. But that's not the case ever since our town has become one of the fastest growing areas in the United States. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going to introduce myself. I've lived in Liberty Hill for 43 years. I came here for the Sculpture Symposium and stayed. I was so very impressed by this wonderful event. In this little, in this small West Texas town, we fed, housed, and supported 12 artists and produced an event of international significance. It was then I decided that I really did need to put my life here. So my late husband and I moved here. We placed our lives here. We raised our children here. We played in the community leagues. My daughter and I played for the Liberty Hill Angels at one time. It was in the 80s. I played first base. She was pitcher. We had such a good time. That led me on to join the Liberty Hill Parks Board. I served 10 years on the Liberty Hill Parks Board and am still a member of that. I served 3 terms on the Liberty Hill City Council and was Mayor Pro Tem for 6 years for all three terms. Let's see, this taught me very much about the workings of government. I know how to run a city. I'm not a smooth talker, but I hope you understand when I tell you that my heart is here. I placed my life here and my heart is in this town also. We were not, back when I was on the council for 6 terms, we were not perfect. We made some mistakes, and there's some places that we could have improved, and I'm very much aware of that. But I'm now very disappointed to see how far down the city has fallen in only 2 years. I'm enormously proud to be a native Texan. My values are Texas values: faith, family, freedom, home. Home includes our hometown. Some of you have lived here for generations. Some of you have lived here for lifetimes, and some of you have only just arrived in Texas. I'm going to ask you, why did you come to Texas? Was it for all the things that Texas means? Honesty, opportunity? Was it for clean air and green grass, for open spaces? Was it for opportunity, good schools, a wholesome family environment? I'm going to work very hard with you to ensure that what you came to find is what you will actually experience. I think we can do this all. If we work together, we can make our hometown the jewel of Williamson County and of Texas. I want to take this opportunity to thank Shelley Wilkinson, Mike Edelman, and the staff of the Independent for keeping our community informed. Thank you very much. I'm ready for the hard questions.
Okay. So the first question is regarding budgeting. So how do you feel about the current city budgeting process and management of capital improvement projects?
The current budget is 77% higher than 2 years ago, and it's grown 77%, and capital improvement, I have studied this entire bloated budget, and there's not a dime in this for infrastructure or for capital improvement. Capital improvement projects there was money at one time for capital improvement, but that money has disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. I think I need to keep searching to find out what happened to it. I'm going to go line by line through the city's budget, and if necessary, and I hope it's not necessary, but if we find it, we'll call for a forensic audit.
So I want to follow that up with one other quick question about the budget. What would you do to kind of set in motion a new way of prioritizing spending and managing capital projects?
Capital projects? I think that our capital projects should be led by our citizens' needs, by the needs of our growing community. So the higher, the greater the need would be the higher the priority. We have currently no money for capital projects. They'll have to be financed through tax notes. I think with the current state of the city's finances, I would be very, very careful, and I would seek citizen input on their priorities. I think we have no money to spend, but we still have at least one dangerous intersection. And of course, there's no pool. This has been it's been the citizens' desire for as long as I've been here to have a pool. The policies of our budget policies need to be brought into line with the values of our community. For that, and also sales and property taxes should be brought into the budget in such a manner that it's easy to understand for us and for our citizens, that the budget needs also to be online. But after some open meetings and some surveys that start to prioritize what our capital improvements should be, we need to, first thing is to repair this dangerous intersection that's only feet away.
Okay. I want to move on because we have a bunch of questions. So you mentioned growth in your opening statement. Do you believe there's such a thing as bad growth for Liberty Hill?
Yes, we don't want to.
What would that be?
That would be becoming boomtown city. Vast amounts of cheap growth that demean our city. Cheap buildings and sleazy businesses. We don't want to have a car lot on every corner.
So when you mentioned your considerations on the budget, one of the key areas of growth in the budget has been in staffing, both in city staffing and police department staffing. What information or method would you use to evaluate staffing needs with the city and the police department to determine the right size for those staffs?
I've met and talked on several occasions with Chief Grader, and I think we would meet again. I think with the city growing in the manner that it is now, we are justified in the expansion that has been done with our police department. In the future, I think we keep a careful eye on how it would expand in the future. As far as the rest of the city staff, I really think we need to I told you we're going to go line by line through the city's budget and do cost to value analysis on probably a lot of the positions, and see what can be consolidated. Possibly some of these positions can be made part-time.
Okay. When you were a member of the city council, the city had a city administrator. What are your thoughts on the decision not to hire a new city administrator after the departure of Greg Boatwright?
Okay, I am not going to be so arrogant as to feel that I can impersonate a city administrator. I think the first thing that I'm going to do is to hire a qualified, competent city administrator. For example, the capital improvement budget projects that have been done have all had enormous overruns. When I was on council, we didn't have that problem. Our city administrator was familiar with construction, and we knew through him and through also, I am somewhat familiar with construction, we knew what was a reasonable cost. And when our bids were awarded, we had reasonable expectations, and exceeding those I think was harder back then than now, when there's nobody in the city, there's nobody at City Hall who understands construction.
In looking for a city administrator, which you would have to hire, from kind of from the beginning, what are the most important qualifications that you would look for, and what process would you use to hire that person? I mean, would you have a committee? How would that be set up?
I think the first thing to do would be to name a committee, and a small committee, probably something like 4 people, and we would go to Texas Municipal League. Texas Municipal League has listings for personnel. I think we would start there. We would also, I suppose, advertise. We would look for a person with experience in budgeting. Well, I already told you, experience in construction, because we will be doing construction. There's a lot of construction going on here. But
okay.
A person with experience in budgeting, personnel, construction, and relations with we have surrounding developers. We need to improve our relations with the developers. So a person with that type of experience would be very helpful.
Okay. Do you support pay and a salary for the council members and mayor?
As for myself, I have a card somewhere which shows I've probably lost it. As for the $40,000, when I was on council, I didn't receive anything. $40,000 for a city of 2,433 people. Round Rock's mayor makes $12,000 a year. Cedar Park and Leander's mayors don't make anything. Georgetown's mayor makes $20,000. These cities are several times larger than us, have mayors who are either volunteers or have a much less salary. I didn't go into city politics to make a profit, and I have decided that I will not accept the $40,000. There's a stipend. When I was on council, I proposed and had passed through council a stipend of $500 a month for the current mayor to pay for her gas and transportation expenses, expenses in traveling and representing the city. I think that would be sufficient. As far as the council members, the other council members in Williamson County, Round Rocks make $9,000 a year. Maybe a small stipend for them. We'll have to get with citizen groups and see what they recommend. I think possibly a small stipend for the council members would be appropriate.
Okay.
And once again, I've noticed in the council meetings, I've noticed some of the council members, when they speak, do not appear to be cognizant of the issues in front of them. In return for the stipend, I'm going to expect them to do their homework, to know what they're talking about.
Okay. Another issue that's on the ballot, so it will be decided by the voters here in November, but I wanted to get your thoughts on whether you agreed with extending city council terms to 3 years from 2 years.
This is not a burning issue, but I don't think we need to do that at this time. It's possibly more efficient, but I can't see any reason to make this change. The system that we have is now seems to work quite efficiently. If somebody doesn't work out, we can get rid of them in 2 years. Also, people who are successful can also re-earn their place in 2 years. It does not seem to be too crowded. too fast.
Okay. So you had mentioned in your opening statements about your time on the council, and how that time wasn't perfect in the city, and there were mistakes made and things like that. What are some of the things that you recall from your time on the council that maybe you wish had been done differently, or you could change now?
I think I would institute the one thing that I'm seeing done better in this administration is the community updates. Now, I don't think I would do them the same way that they're currently being done, but I think the citizens 2 years ago did not feel included as they should have felt. So I think we'll continue the community updates, but instead of having a canned presentation, we'll have question and answer sessions and time for citizen comments. I think we'll also have a lively, I think I will have an online presence such that I can accept comments from the citizens and also get out and talk to people one-on-one and see what the issues actually are. I think in the past administration, I think inclusion was an issue to the voters.
Okay. So your son, John, is a local developer, and in the past 2 elections, much has been made of the influence of and the ethical questions surrounding personal interests of candidates and members of the council and boards. If you're elected, how will you ensure that does not become an issue for you as mayor?
Well, I have to address that question. First of all, I've heard many comments from the general public, and I have to remind them that for years this was a working class community, and almost all of our citizens followed construction trades. So this was a community very heavily invested in construction trades. My son is a local developer. I try to maintain a distance between family and well, I haven't accepted donations. I haven't accepted donations from any developers, and I did accept a donation from my son John. It simply is, I think I just have to draw a line between family and the city. In the past, allegations that were made about the city favoring certain members of this construction community were found to be fraudulent. These things just actually did not happen. I favor having friendly relations with the developers and with all members, all of our suppliers, all members of the community. As for developers having undue influence, I'm not the one I'm not the one you're talking about. I'm not the one who has accepted large donations from the development community.
Okay. So, and this will go back a little bit to your opening statement, I think, but tell the community why you're the right choice to serve as mayor for Liberty Hill now.
I've been here for many years, and as the city grows and develops, I think it needs to maintain its same standards, its same dignity, its the same high standards that it has. I think the same values that have led us in the past should continue to lead us in the future. I think that I know everybody. If not, I'm willing to meet people on their own terms, and I'm willing to. I am an older lady. I am retired comfortably, and I'm not subject to sway by. I don't need money. I don't need gifts. I don't need promises. I'm not subject to influence by that type of thing. And I am passionate about Liberty Hill. I have loved Liberty Hill for the past 40 years. Do you need